to God first. So let's get started. So I predicted yesterday, Will was on here with me, and I said Luka's going to go crazy. Now, did he go crazy? That's debatable. He did not do what I thought he was going to do, which is I was expecting somewhere along the lines of 30, 40 plus point triple-double. Instead, we got a 19-point triple-double. Still a really good game, but when you're Luka and you have the ability to do as much as he can, not quite what I was predicting. So we'll start off with that. I was wrong. Now, I'm not someone that gets into the whole, are we the greatest or worst ever at something when you first started? And Luka's already inviting is he LeBron's greatest teammate? And LeBron in general, there's this conversation around him because of the GOAT debate between him and Michael Jordan of who had better teammates, who accomplished more with less, all these different things kick in. And I don't really want to argue that point, and I don't believe Luka's his best teammate. Just me personally, it's going to be really hard for me until someone's resume shows it to say LeBron has ever had a better teammate than Dwayne Wade. But that's what I want to discuss here, or at least have an actual conversation about. Dwayne Wade, I think, is LeBron's most underrated. I think he's his best teammate. I also think he's now somehow become his most underrated teammate. When Anthony Davis first got to LA and they won a title in year one, it was AD the most talented player that we have ever seen play with LeBron, because just AD's pure talent level, being a 7-footer who could handle the ball somewhat, shoot, was maybe the best defensive player in the league that year, all these different things. Was he more talented than Dwayne Wade, who was always a little more undersized slasher type player? You could argue the talent was there. But to me, that's not fair to Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade I think we just lose who Dwayne Wade was. Dwayne Wade is a 3-time champion. Understand that for one. Dwayne Wade won a title before LeBron got there. Again, this is not me ripping Luka. This is not me ripping Anthony Davis. This is more so I just want to put into context who Dwayne Wade is, because people are already having this now. We had the AD. Is he the best teammate LeBron's ever had? Is Luka now the best teammate LeBron's ever had? Dwayne Wade, again, most underrated and his best in my opinion. Dwayne Wade won a title before LeBron got there. Dwayne Wade in a league with Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, in my opinion, two of the 3 greatest players to ever play the game of basketball, was the other guy. He was right up there when you did your top 3. Go back to that 07, 08, or 08, 09 MVPs. It was Kobe, LeBron, D-Wade. D-Wade was coming off injury, averaging 30-plus a game for the Heat, and he was the only reason from that 08 season up until 2010, 2011 when he joined with LeBron, he was the only reason the Heat were relevant. And not in the sense Jimmy Butler's made them relevant, but Dwayne Wade was one of the best players in the game of basketball, bar none. I say all that, though, to say, I want to give Dwayne Wade his love. Luka might be the best fit, especially if you want to go where they're at in their careers. AD was a good fit because at that point in time when he joined the Lakers, LeBron was still able to be the primary ball handler. He could still give you 65, 75 plus games a year, and he could still show up offense, defense every night. And the way he could play, he could still be your point guard and you could still win games. While LeBron's greatness, while we understand the numbers that he's averaging, the points that he's scoring, all the things he's still able to do at 40 years old, which is he is truly in a class by himself because we've never seen an athlete be this great this late into their career. He is no longer that guy when he first got with AD. Who LeBron needs now is exactly who Luka is. He needs another guy who can handle the ball. He needs another guy who could be the primary guy on offense. He needs a guy who can give him these 5-6 minute stretches either off the court and the game not get away, or on the court where he can reserve some energy. Luka, again, I think D-Wade is his best teammate he's ever had. Anthony Davis has an argument for the most talented teammate he's ever had. But Luka truly has an argument for maybe the most perfect fit he's ever had. And that obviously all depends on at what point in his career. I don't believe Luka Doncic in 2024 is who LeBron James needed in 2010, where he was still the best ball handler, the best, he wanted to dominate the ball. He was the best guy in the league, bar none. Because remember, when him and Dwayne Wade got together, there were issues because they were both primary ball handlers. They were both slashers. They were both guys that needed the ball in their hands to succeed, to do well. They were both 30-point per game guys. So at that point in LeBron James' career, It's why everyone talks about, well, he needed D-Wade to help him win. It is a mentality thing. Him and D-Wade did not, they clashed stylistically. So, again, D-Wade, best. AD, most talented. Luka, potentially the best teammate he's going to have, best fit as a teammate that he's ever going to have in his career. And again, part of that is because LeBron is 40. LeBron needs possessions off. LeBron needs stretches of time off more than he's ever needed in his career. No athlete, especially in the NBA, has ever played this late into their career and have been asked to be this good this late into their career. And it showed, I think, even more in the fourth quarter when Luka was off the floor. And now the Mavs had injuries and the Mavs weren't at full strength, and obviously Anthony Davis isn't there, so that's part of it. But you can make an argument LeBron James is the best player on the court in the fourth quarter. He's 40. Like, how he looked in the fourth quarter, you'd be like, oh yeah, he's going to get 2-3 more years out of this run. Like, he is going to sit there and enjoy playing with Luka and this current Lakers cast, and he's going to be here for 2 to 3 more years, and it's going to be great. Again, D-Wade, best teammate. Anthony Davis, most talented. Luka, quite possibly the best fit LeBron has ever had. Now, let's segue into a champion to champion. LeBron to the Kansas City Chiefs. Still, you could argue, even though they just lost the Super Bowl, still pretty definitively the current dynasty in the NFL, especially if they find a way to win next year. Now, the Chiefs have a couple of concerns, I think more than Chiefs fans are willing to admit, but there's one glaring one that everyone knows and is talking about, and that's at tight end. And yes, they have Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce is a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's him or Gronk. You take your choice, greatest tight end ever. But Travis Kelce was given until March 15th to pick a date because they weren't sure if he was going to come back. And I'm of the belief, I do believe that if they had won that game, I do believe Travis Kelce would have, I know the internet hates this, I think he would have proposed, I think he would have left, I think he would have retired, I think it would have been, call it a career, three-peat, greatest tight end ever, most accomplished tight end ever, whatever you want to call him, right? He would have left. That would have been the storybook ending. I do think now, because they didn't win that game, he's coming back because he doesn't want that to be the last thing people see, which is, if you're watching that game, there's the one really bad play where he just sits there. He just sits in the one spot, doesn't move, did not have a great game, did not have a last 2 games in the playoffs. Athletes of that caliber do not want to end on a sour note. But this is why dynasties don't last forever. And this is why dynasties usually end much quicker than we think. And even though we always give, we just assume in the NFL, well, you got a great quarterback, you're going to be great as long as they're great. This is why part of that's not true, is because you still need ownership, you still need a general manager, you still need a great head coach, and you still need those 3 or 4 key pieces to be dynamic for you. And Travis Kelce has been that for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. But now, with that, where Travis Kelce is in his career, he's no longer a 17-game tight end, he's no longer a 10-game tight end. He's really like a 5 or 6-game tight end. Every couple of games, he gives you those 7-8 catches, boom, gets you around 100 yards, gets you a touchdown or 2, and that's about it. And that might be being generous. He is going to be probably more likely a 1 or 2 game tight end. Maybe 1 or 2 games in the regular season, maybe 1 game in the playoffs if you're lucky. But let's look at how much he's going to make. He's going to make $19 million this year. So you're still paying for, and I know he's never been the top paid tight end, and that's part of their story too, but you're paying premium for a position that is no longer a premium, but because this is a long-term goal, you don't want to show other players, hey, as soon as you're no longer the best at your position, the peak of your powers, we just get rid of you, even though that is the only proven formula of how to win consistently and long periods of time during NFL with free agency. Bill Belichick and the Patriots were famous for this. They got rid of guys early all the time. Didn't matter who they were. Vince Wilfork, Richard Seymour. Hell, they got rid of this one guy a few years before he was ready to retire. His name was Tom Brady. They always did this with their players. The Chiefs, and the Patriots didn't have the success prior to Bill, but Bill was there for so long that they had eventually established this culture. The Chiefs, this level of success, because it's such rarefied air, It's with the other dynasties, the Steelers, the Niners, the Patriots. They've never been here, and we don't have any proof of concept they're going to handle this correctly. So if Kelce has to be paid like a premium tight end, and he's a guy who only produces 2 to 3 games, you're already losing most likely Trey Smith, the guard. You're losing free agency. Again, Chris Jones had there's an argument that he was still creating pressures, but his overall numbers in terms of sacks, tackles, all that stuff was down. You know, Mahomes has statistically had his worst 2 years back to back. Like, this is how teams start to unravel and come back to the pack. Maybe at the peak of this run, yeah, when Kelce was flying high and Chris Jones was the best defensive player in football and Mahomes was doing Mahomes type things, yeah, you felt like you were on top of the world. But now you've got declining Kelce, Chris Jones will see, Mahomes coming off his worst 2 statistical years, and everybody wants to get paid because you had this amazing draft class that you knocked out the park. Well, now Nick Bolton wants to get paid. Now your young defensive linemen, they want to get paid. Your young corners want to get paid. Your offensive line, which you're going to have to reinvest because you're probably going to lose Thuney and, Trey Smith. Like, this is why in football specifically, dynasties don't last. Because one guy in football, unlike the NBA where you could just have prime LeBron, if that's our comparison for Mahomes, and that's just good enough to get you to conference finals, NBA finals year after year, because one player on the court can have such a disproportionate effect on the game versus a quarterback. And we all acknowledge how impactful quarterbacks can be. This is why dynasties don't last forever. This is why teams aren't great forever. You got a guy like Mahomes, Kelce, Jones, when they're all in their prime and you're wrecking it, it looks great. And now Humphrey's salary is going to be up there. He's the highest paid center in the league, I believe. The Eagles might surpass it with Jurgensen, but we'll see. And you're going to be paying Travis Kelce $19 million plus his cap hit. Or I think it's his cap. I think his salary is 17. I think his cap hit's closer to 19 because of other stuff. But you're paying for a guy who's no longer that player. And emotionally, you don't want to do it because it's Travis Kelce. He's one of the best players in your franchise's history. And you don't want to tell other future players, hey, once you're no longer at the peak of your powers, we're getting rid of you. But the reality is, that's when you should get rid of them. When they're no longer at the peak of their powers. When they're no longer who you paid for. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's the reality of sports, the competition. If you can't be who we're paying for, we are going to be worse as a result. So, yeah, man. Luka, great team. Luka's going to be great for LeBron and Kelce. We'll see how it goes, man. Maybe I'm wrong. And Chiefs fans don't like me anyway, so, I'm not losing any favor there. When we come back, excuse me, Gronk coming out of retirement. I was supposed to talk about this yesterday, but we missed it, so we'll talk about it today, as well as, of course, some not serious, and a contract that I still believe, even though the player's not there, is going to end up being one of the most influential contracts in NFL history. This is HardFoul Radio. We will be back momentarily.